What is the funniest thing you've ever heard a person say in their sleep? I was studying abroad in Italy. My, also American, roommate rolled over and said yogurt, am I right? I laughed and quietly said haha yeah buddy. He, in his sleep, replied hey, man, frick you. It was hilarious. My mom when I tried to wake her for her night job, when I was like 14. MHHMMM, the oven. I'm like the oven mom. Stupid bullcrap oven. You're fired. I was freaking dying. My mom woke my grandma up, after she had worked the night shift, to sign a permission slip for a school trip. When my mom got to school, the teacher yelled at my mom, and told her, that she couldn't go on the trip, because she faked the note. The note read, Ms. Good at photos may go on the school trip this afternoon. Sincerely, toilet paper. They still hang the note, now laminated, on the tree every Christmas. My ex used to tell a story about me. He got out of bed one morning, and I sat bolt upright, and turned my head in his direction without opening my eyes. Me, which console do you want? Him, box. Me, nodding solemnly, millimeters, tastes better. Then I laid back down and continued snoring. In college I had a roommate who would talk in his sleep occasionally. One time in the middle of the night he said Tevolcanic, I need to tell you something important. He sounded very earnest and I wasn't quite asleep, yet so I said okay, what is it? Suddenly he was shouting, and yelled it's none of your business, and was silent for the rest of the night. I also had a college roommate who was a big time sleep talker. Mostly he would talk about how much he loved his girlfriend, but another moment stands out. See, my roommate was the most chick dude I've met in my 32 years and kind intimidating, even though he was a giant teddy bear. We were part of our OTC on our campus, and one of the sophomore cadets' jobs was to host high schoolers that were thinking about joining the organization on an overpass stay. A guy I knew from high school was spending the night in our room after a long day of school and training. The cots weren't terribly comfortable, so he had some trouble getting to sleep while I was working on a paper. Suddenly, at about midnight my roommate sits bolt upright and stares daggers at the prospective member and screams in his meanest, most booming pisshead voice, alright fish, get up, I'm going to smoke the shit out of you. I don't think the poor dude got back to sleep, and I know for a fact that he came to our university, but didn't end up joining our OTC. Why are you sleeping with him, you whore? Context, I was a senior in high school and my uncle was staying at our house for the weekend. His new wife, of about 6 months, was with him. To be courteous we let them stay in my room and I stayed in my brother's. I have a history of outlandish sleepwalking and talking. In the middle of the night I walked into my bedroom and started screaming at my new aunt calling her a whore. My mother came out and walked me back to bed. Lucky, she has a great sense of humor and reminds me about it every time I see her. My son appeared in my bed in the middle of the night. No problem, he's a little kid. But he kept kicking me in his sleep. I tried to move him over and he uttered, face me GD. I was not prepared for that, so I left and slept on the couch. My dad yells a lot in his sleep and said many a funny thing over the years. The best one I've ever had the pleasure of witnessing was www.com. And when I say my dad yells in his sleep, I mean he yells. It was hilarious and still laugh about it to this day. The way he enunciated the W's was just so good. There is a story about my mom. When she was a teenager sleep talking, my mom and her sister shared a room. One night, my mom sat up and was crying and yelling. She was yelling in what seemed to be Spanish. My mom did not, and does not, know Spanish. She lived in a part of the US that at the time did not have really any Spanish speaking people. Her sister, however, had been taking some Spanish in high school. According to her sister, my mom told a story. Apparently, my mom was married to a very angry man and fought with him a lot. Things got physical. The man stabbed my mom. She died. My mom then went back to sleep. I can't say for certain that my mom hadn't heard her sister practicing Spanish, or that my aunt knew enough to really know what my mom was saying. Maybe she was just sleep jumble mumbling. Former friend of mine used to crash at my apartment every weekend when we were in college. One weekend my then fiancé decided to hang out on the couch instead of sleep, play video games, drink, etc. so Jay stays in our room with me. Never knew she was a sleep talker, but got woke up in the middle of the night because she was poking me while chanting tears for teeth. I'm the only person in my family who doesn't talk in their sleep. My brother is a big gamer and I heard him once in his sleep. Go god fucking damn it Sora. He doesn't even play Kingdom Hearts that much. My ma is terrified of Davy Jones from the Pirates of the Caribbean. One night she had her hands up like she was holding on to something and was quietly going ah. When I asked her the next day she told me she was holding onto a rope and swinging across a ship trying to escape Jones. And then there's my dad. I passed by their bed once and he yelled, "Let's go motherfucker. I'll beat your ass right here and now." Scared the fuck out of me. He doesn't remember who he was dream fighting though. I was at a party and I stayed overnight with some friends. We were a total of 8, 4 sleeping on the couches and 4 on some mattresses, laid on the floor. Mind you, it's like 4:30 over 5 in the morning and we just got to sleep. At one point one of my friends comes into the room to take one of the mattresses. He's halfway through the door, mattress underarm, when one of my other friends bolts up screaming, "Stop trying to steal my pillow." Poor guy was mortified and tried to explain he wasn't trying to steal anything, but she continued shouting. In the end she stopped and went back to sleep. We found out later that morning that she didn't remember a thing and proceeded to profusely apologize for the rest of the day. To this day it's still the funniest interaction I've ever witnessed. Does blackout drunk count? If so, about an hour after passing out my brother blurts out in his sleep, "The thing about bottles of water? They gonna end up in your mouth mate." Heavy Australian accent on the second sentence to that wasn't there with the first one. A few months ago I visited some friends out of town. They're a couple and we stayed at the girl's parents' house. Anyways, when I woke up I heard a conversation of the boyfriend sincerely apologizing to the father. Once I became oriented I went into the girl's room and got the rundown of what happened. So we all went to sleep after a night of drinking, but by the time we were back at the house we were all sober, fine and go to bed. The GF wakes up and the BF is no longer there. She gets up and starts looking around for him, checking all the rooms in the house. She sees her parents in the living room, but just walks by. As she walks past her parents' room she sees a body in the parents' bed, then realized it's BF. Absolutely stunned she wakes him up and wants answers, only to realize he had absolutely no idea why he was there. It wasn't until they talked to the parents that they found out BF had in the middle of the night gotten out of bed with GF, walked to the parents' bed, and laid down directly in the middle of the parents. But this is the part one love. The first one to wake up was the mother, seeing her daughter's BF directly in bed next to her. Rather than waking either of the guys up she just got up and went to the living room with a cup of coffee. Of course, next was the father, who woke up in bed alone with his daughter's BF. Luckily the father is great, so he also just let the kid sleep and went and enjoyed a cup of coffee with the morning news. Rather than rocking this kid's world they surrendered their bed and let the dude get some rest. That morning was a good, long laugh. TLDR, friend went to bed with GF and woke up in bed with GF's parents. My ex used to sometimes talk in her sleep, and one night I was up really late and was high just watching TV, and I heard her say, very clearly to me, "Let's get McDonald's." I thought to myself that it was a great idea, so I got up and started getting dressed. After I was done I went back to wake her, and she was out. I shook her a couple of times and said, "Let's go, I'm ready." She finally woke up and said, "What? No, it's late, go to bed." I was so disappointed because I totally thought she wanted to go and I was too high to drive, so I had to get undressed again and go back to bed. Looking back, I totally should have known that was just her talking in her sleep, but I was so high I did not want to accept that as the reality and chose to believe I was gonna get some McDonald's. Still, the whole this is pretty funny when you think about it, the hungry high dude talking with his sleeping girlfriend. I have a habit of sleep talking in a way where you can't always tell I'm asleep. Like, I'll walk out into the living room and sit down on the couch, maybe even get a drink out of the fridge. Nobody would know the difference until I say also something dumb. The best one so far is when I sat and had a normal convo with my fiance for like 20 minutes. He thought I was awake until I just spouted off, "I wonder how the sun works." I don't even remember saying it or any of what happened. I was completely asleep, but I woke up to the jarring sound of him laughing his head off at me. He says, "It's literally on fire. That's how it works." Sometime in the late 90s my dad was asleep on the couch while the rest of us watched TV. It was late at night and everyone was sleepy, just hadn't gone to bed yet. A commercial came on that said, "Are you concerned about hair loss?" My dad, who was asleep and even snoring loudly, answered with an emphatic, "Fuck yes I am." The guy in the commercial went on to say something like, "Well, we have the product for you," to which my dad replied, "Well, show it to me, man," then began snoring again. It was one of the funniest moments of my life for some reason. He had absolutely no recollection of it when he woke up, but we made fun of him for it for the rest of his life.